Okay, so just going to look at finding the mean, the medium, the mode, the range, the standard deviation and the interquartile range. Firstly, the mean. So the mean is just the average. So it's just the sum of the scores divided by the number of scores. So you just have to add them up and divide by how many there are. So when you add these numbers up, you get 146. And then divide by how many there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Divide by 10, and that's 14.6. You could also find that in the calculator, but when we find the standard deviation, we're going to have no choice, and we're going to have to use the calculator. So I'll go back through finding the mean and just making sure it is actually 14.6. Okay, next up is your medium. So the 3 M's, they're the measures of central tendency around the centre, mean, medium and mode, whereas the other ones measure how the score is actually spread. Okay, so for the medium, you need to make sure that they're in order. So let's go, we'll go 12, 12, and we'll get 2 13s, and we'll just put them in order. Okay, so put them in order. And then what you need to do is split it in the middle. So there's 5 on that side, 5 on that side. So the middle, the median would be halfway between 14 and 15, which is 14.5. Now you can also get this in the calculator. So when we get up to standard deviation, I'll go through how to get that in the calculator as well. Now when it is an even number of scores, there's 2 middles, so you have to get halfway between the middle. Now, why we have them in order here, you might as well look at the interquartile range. So the interquartile range is the upper quartile minus the lower quartile. So if you've got them all in order here, 13, 13, 14, 15, 15, 16, 16, 20, you split it in half and you find the middle of one half. So that's going to be exactly there. And then you find the middle of the other half. So this is your median. The median is Q2. And then we get the middle of one half. Wait a minute. That's 5 numbers, so that's 13. And the middle of the other half is 16. So this is Q1, and that one's Q3. So the upper quartile is 16. The lower quartile is 13. 16 minus 13 is 3. So that means the middle 50% of the scores lies between 13 and 16 with a range of 3. Okay, the mode's the most popular. Now in this there are a few modes because there's a lot of most popular, so you actually have to write all of them down. So you've got 12, 13 appears twice, 15 and 16, they're all modes. And then the range is the highest score, which was 20, minus the lowest score, which is 12, so the mode was 12. Okay, so just doing this same thing, we're just going to do it on the calculator. We can get the mean on the calculator, the median, the standard deviation, and also the interquartile range. So the first thing that you have to do is you have to make sure that your frequency button is on. So in order to do that, you go shift, so you press the shift setup, so shift setup, and then once you do that, you have to scroll down. So when you scroll down, you use these buttons and you scroll down using that button, and then you'll notice there's a button there. On mine it's number 3, yours might be number 2, and it says stat, so there's 3. Then it says number 1 on and number 2 off. So you want number 1 on. Number 1 turns the stat button on. Okay, so now you just have to go mode. So let's just get rid of that now. We now go mode, and when we press mode, there's a button there, mine's number 2, that is stats, and you turn your stats mode on. So I'll just get rid of this part down here. Alright, so I've got my stats on. Now, if you go to number 1, where it says variable, that's the one that you want because that will find all of the stats. Do you remember the one for linear regression line? That was the A plus BX, and Pearson's correlation coefficient, and the A and the B for your line y equals A plus BX. So you press 1 for variable. Now when you do that, you get this comes up, X and frequency, because your frequency is on. Then you enter all the data. Now, regardless if it's in a table or if it's not in a table, it's the same thing. When you enter these numbers, like you press 12, so you press 12 and press equals, and that will give you a frequency of 1. Then you go 13 and you press equals, that will give you a frequency of 1. 14 equals, 15 equals, 16 equals, 12 equals, 13 equals, 20 equals, 15 equals, 16 equals. So once all your data, so you put the data in, it will have a list of all the data down the score column, down to 16, and they'll all have a frequency of 1. So that's the score, that's the frequency. Okay, then what you need to do after you've done that is you need to press all clear. It's really important you press all clear, and that enables you to use some other buttons. So the first thing is you put the frequency on. So to do that, you go Shift, Mode, scroll down, and then you do the Stats mode, and then you go 1 and you turn it on. So your frequency will be on. So that's the first step. Second step is you press Mode, and then you put the Stat button on. Mine's 2, so it's number 2. And then you want the one that says Variable, so it's number 1. So once I've got the one that says Variable, I get a list, and I get this come up, frequency, score, and then frequency. So you enter all of the data, and each time it'll be 1. If you had a table, you'd just put that in the frequency column. Okay, then the next step after you've done that, that's number 4, enter the data. 5 is you have to press all clear, and then you go Shift and you go 1. You might notice that on top of the 1 there is a thing that says Stats. So that allows you to access all the stat buttons. So in the stat buttons there, you have for the mean and the standard deviation, you have the one that says variable. Mine's number 4. Okay. If you're going to find the one that does the interquartile range and even the median, both of those, they can be found by doing the one that says min, max. I'll be in that one, min, max. Okay, so we're going to start off, and I'm going to press number 4, which is my variable one. So when you press number 4, so you've got 4 will be for the mean and standard deviation, and 5, which is the min, max. That one will be for my interquartile range and for my median. So when we're doing this now, let's I'll just get these steps out of the way. So let's go. So I pressed Shift 1, and then I did number 4, and I've got the variable. What actually comes up is N, 2, which looks like that, 3, which looks like that, and 4, which looks like that. Okay, so N is the number of scores, so it should be 10 if I pressed N. X bar, that is your mean. So number 2, your mean is X bar, that will be 14.6. This one here, this is your population standard deviation. So that's if you're dealing with a population. Unless you specified otherwise, you always just use this one. So if I want to access that now, that I've already gone through and I've done the other one, you just press Shift 1 again, and you have to go through the process again. So you go Shift 1, and then you press number 4, which is the variable, and then you want number 3, which is that one. Go number 3, and then you press equals, and I actually get 2.289, so that means the scores are, on average, the standard deviation is the average distance the scores are away from the mean. So the average distance they are away from the mean is about 2.3 to 1 decimal place, either side of the mean. So they could be 2.3 above the mean or 2.3 below the mean. So now I'm going to press Shift 1 again, and I'm going to press 4 for variable, and then 4. So when you look at this one here, this is for a sample. So the sample standard deviation is 2.4. So the next thing that we want to do here is I just want to show you the median on the calculator. So to do the median and the interquartile range, so the interquartile range is the upper quartile minus the lower quartile, like it's the middle 50%, and this is the number that is exactly in the middle. So press Shift 1 again. You press Shift 1 and press number 5. That's the max min. And then once you've done that, you notice you have different things. Number 1, that is the minimum value. Number 2, that's the maximum value of the scores. Number 3, that's Q1, that's the lower quartile. Number 4, that's the median. And number 5, that's Q3. So if I press number 3, I get Q1. So Q1 is 13. And if you press Shift 1, 5, and I press number 5, Q3 is 16. And then I press Shift Stats number 4, that will give me the median. And so I go Shift 1, number 5, and then if I press number 4, that's the median. The median is 14.5, which is what I got before. Okay, so if I've got Q1 and Q3, then the interquartile range is the difference between these two numbers, 16 minus 13, which is 3. So the middle 50% is spread out amongst 3. Okay, so I'll just do one more, and I'll just do one that is actually in a table. There you got X for score and F for frequency. So let's go 22, 23, 24, 25, 6, 8, 9, and 4. So you could do this along with me. That symbol there is the mean. That symbol there is the standard deviation, and it's for the entire population. The sample standard deviation on your calculator looks like that, but don't use that unless stated. These are the two that you'll be using mainly. Okay, so what we're going to do is just find all the things you can in a calculator. So you get mean, we're going to get the standard deviation, we're going to get the sample standard deviation, remembering the standard deviation is the average distance the scores are away from the mean. And then once we've done that, we're going to get the median on the calculator, and we're going to get Q1, the lower quartile, Q3, the upper quartile, and then we're going to get the interquartile range, which is Q3 minus Q1. Okay, so we go mode 2 and 1. All right, so put the numbers in, 22 equals 23. Now to get the 6 and the 8 and the 9 in, scroll down and go to the top and then enter them down the other column. So to scroll across, if you go onto where your calculator is, you need to use that to scroll across. So you get to the second column and then you just press equals every time you enter it. But you might want to scroll up so that it sits up the top here, so you match them up. Okay, then make sure you do the all clear thing before you go. So you go all clear, then Shift 1. And then once you've got Shift 1, number 4 is the variable button. And then the mean is that symbol. So when you press number 2 equals, I get 23.4. The standard deviation, so I go Shift 1 and then I press number 4 for variable and I press number 3. I get 0, it's not spread out very much, 0.99. And then if I press Shift 1 and I go variable, which is 4, and then you go number 4 and you go equals, you actually get 1.01 to 2 decimal places. Okay, if I want the median, I go Shift 1 and I press number 5 for the min max one. That's the button I want. Number 3, that's Q1. I get 23. Shift 1, 5, and I go to number 3, which is 5. That's 24. and I go shift 1, 5, and I go 4, which is 23 for the median. The median's 23. They must be really clustered together. The interquartile range is Q3, which is 24, minus Q1, which is 23, which is 1. So once again, you can see it's the average distance away from the mean is about, close to 1. And also the interquartile range, the middle 50% is only 1. So it's very close together, these schools.